Hey everyone, Chris here with Clutter Reduction Junk Removal in Southeast Florida. We are going to be heading to pick up a couch very shortly. It is a 3-seater sleeper sofa in a first floor condo. She asked me originally if I could bring it out to the dumpster, and I said, I'm sorry, we don't do dumpsters because it can be seen as dumping. And even if they say, oh, it's fine, it's okay, I still don't do it anymore. I've been in situations before where I was told it was okay, we go to do it, it's not okay, and luckily I've never been fined for it, but that doesn't mean I want to put myself in that situation. I also don't want the neighbors to see me doing it and actively just assume that that's what we do, even if it's not the case. So I personally just say, sorry, we don't do dumpsters. So we actually had a little bit of a problem with the trailer with the breakaway cable for the emergency brake. So if the chains were to ever fault or the hitch were to ever fall off or something, this cable will pull on the little breakaway thing and it'll stop the trailer. Well, this broke, and I don't know if it's from like going up driveways and it just catches and rubs or something, but it literally broke, and I was trying to figure out how to fix it, and I looked it up because the problem is I can't just replace this. Like, I could buy this cable and put a carabiner on it, but I don't know if I can replace this off of here, which is connected. So that was the problem. Now, we went to Lowe's and they have these like little clips that you can buy that are meant for these. And then you're supposed to use a specific tool. It's like a frottier tool or something. I actually coincidentally have one off of a job. I didn't know what it was for, but I kept it just in case. But I couldn't find it. So we bought this. It was like $3, I think. And I basically just pinched it with heavy duty pliers, and then I just hammered it flat. Because I looked it up, and the only important thing is this cable just needs to be able to pull this thing out of the place. So as long as this is secure enough to hold that, it's fine. So cheap DIY fix, although every time I go to grab it and I'm not paying attention, I stab my finger. So not the greatest in the world, but it allows me to drive my trailer comfortably, knowing that if I get pulled over by DOT and they come look at this and they see there's no breakaway cable, obviously that would be probably a little bit of a fine. So at least this way I can argue like, well, it's fixed and the important components are there. And that's the first thing that's gone wrong with this trailer. Alright, so right now we are going to pick up the trailer, the other one, the 12-foot, and we are going to go to the scrapyard. When it comes to scrapping, when I first started junk removal, I was learning about scrapping. I actually didn't do it probably like my first year and a half. Yeah, there's a mosquito. Kill it with fire. I got it. A&E fire. My pinky handled it. Yeah, my first year and a half, I didn't do any scrap metal. Number one, I was using rental trucks, so for me to go anywhere with a rental truck with a kind of load of scrap metal, unless it was something crazy, wasn't worth it. Like, because then I'm paying for gas, I'm paying for mileage, and if I come back past due hour-wise, then I have to pay for a second day. So that just wasn't really in the books for me. In addition, I wasn't very knowledgeable. So I did start to watch Andy Weiss, and he's very informative if you're looking to learn more about scrapping and kind of learning like the breakdowns and the different things that house different types of metals and how to find out about them. Highly recommend. I learned a good, like the basics basically. Like I learned about copper a little bit better, learned a little bit better about brass, learned a little bit better about wires, which ones are which, you know, how they kind of play a different role at the scrapyard, aluminum, things like that. So I learned, but my problem was my lack of experience and timing, where I would spend too much time trying to dissect items to pull in more metal, and I was just doing it inefficiently and just taking way too much time to make it worthwhile. In addition to that, once I kind of got stuck into the mindset of it, I would start looking at everything like, oh, I could scrap this. Oh, I could scrap this. In reality, sometimes it's better to just sell the item. I've done that with some lamps before. I had some lamps that were like heavy cast iron, and I was like, ooh, this is pretty chunky for the size of the item. Like, let me go ahead and scrap this. In reality, I'm probably making like 75 cents off of it, but I probably could have sold it at a garage sale for like 10 bucks, even $5, which is still better than scrapping it. And it's still being recycled. So that was just an issue I personally had, and after a while I was like, all right, you know what, this isn't worth my time personally. More importantly, it wasn't worth the effort, the labor to offload, separate, reload, drive up, offload. It just wasn't worth the overall effort. It felt like yes, you're being paid twice in a way, because in junk removal you get paid to get rid of stuff, and then if you're selling or scrapping, you're technically getting paid to get rid of it again. So there's a lot of pro to it when it comes to that, but I was kind of ruining it by lack of experience in the matter. So I kind of stopped doing it in bulk, but I did continue keeping copper pieces, copper wire, just wire in general, whether it was insulated or bare, brass, so like brass knobs, little brass figurines, stuff like that. And then, like I said, like I have a massive gallon, I have like a 55 drum of just wire just sitting on my side yard waiting to be sorted through. So that's what I continue to collect. And I don't come across a ton of that stuff. I get more brass than I do copper. Like I'll get my occasional copper pipe when we go to do a construction job and someone tore out a toilet or something, or pulled out a sink. But brass, I'll come across little figurines that aren't quite identifiable enough to try to sell, and scrapyard is next. And brass is cool because brass is heavy and you still get paid a little bit more than regular metal, so it's kind of nice. Also, like brass knobs off of a dresser. Like if I had a dresser that I just knew was going to get dumped and it had brass knobs on it, sit there and get the drill, put on impact, and just zoom fast, rip out all the knobs in like 2 minutes, and then I have a little extra weight to get rid of. So now we're kind of getting back into it a little bit. The trailer I'm going to pick up right now it's full, it's just not jam-packed. Like I'm not utilizing every little square inch. I'm trying not to keep my trailer full for too long if I don't have a lot of consistent metal coming in, because then I don't have a trailer available if I have a large job where I need to maximize my time by avoiding the dump with the first one, or if it falls on like a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday, the dumps are closed. So if this trailer has stuff in it and I need a full trailer, I can always come by and pick up this one. But it's also been a storage for me for metal, so I don't have to worry about storing it all on the side yard. So a little bit of a double-edged sword, trying to figure out if it's worth it. And today's gonna kind of be the test. I'm expecting it to be around $85 to $100, but I don't know for sure. There's some heavy things in there, but it's a lot. There's also a lot of filler too, and I'm just trying to weigh out the pros and cons of it all. So we'll see what happens, and we'll try to make a decision if we're gonna keep going with the full-blown scrapping route, or if we're just gonna do the copper, brass, wire, and aluminum. So we'll see what happens. So with this trailer, because I don't have a brake line, all I really have is the cables, the hitch, and then the light cable for the lights. But I don't know if it's just me being inexperienced, but when I first got this trailer, I didn't feel like this thing was long enough to get plugged in, where if I were to make a tight turn with the trailer, it would kind of rip or like tear out of place and ruin the prongs. So I actually bought this from Walmart, and it just sits right on top. It's just an extender. I think it's like a 10-inch extender. Actually, it looks like more than 10 inches. It might be 12 inches. And I do like it because it has the little lights on here that will show you like, hey, all the lights work. And it has a little like thing to put your finger in, so it's easier to pull it out, so you don't have to worry about like, you know, wiggling it. But I got it from Walmart. I think it was like 10, maybe 15 bucks. I don't think it was any more than 20, but I found it to be useful. Also, this is why. When I first got my truck, I got a adjustable hitch that came out, and my hitch probably came out to like here. It was probably like this long. So it pushed the trailer away that much farther. I think that's why I originally bought this. But I still use it on this trailer just because. All right, so this is the trailer. Like I said, it's full. It's just not like jam-packed full. Like there's a bunch of small stuff in there, some big appliances, some heavier like decor stuff. Sleeper sofa bed frame, things like that. And then I picked up this last night from my neighborhood just because I was like, well, I'm coming here anyways. This is actually relatively heavy. But just went ahead and grabbed it just to get a few extra bucks. We washed the trailer the last time we picked it up to fill it, so it looks nice and presentable now. And now we can go drive to the scrapyard and mark it. So last night we went out at like midnight and put signs out. Probably did about 15, 20-ish or so. I would personally rather not do yard signs. Like, it's not like just flat out banned in my area, but it's still like a frowned upon form of marketing. I personally would just rather not do it. I feel guilty when I'm doing it the whole time. And like, I'm really like careful about where I put it, and you know, like where it sits with the like property line, and where it sits with like people's point of views into like as they're driving and stuff. I'm like kind of paranoid about it. My idea was to, once we get rid of what's in the garage, which I have a lot of yard signs from like back in the day, because I was always playing around with like the different colors, the different sizes, and I have a lot in the garage, and it would be a waste of money to get rid of them. So we're kind of putting them out little by little, but my goal would be, once those are done, we would do branded yard signs, like the smallest size you can get. I think that's like a 10 by 20. And it would just say clutter reduction, junk removal, or even just clutter reduction. And maybe like a slogan like reduce the clutter with a exclamation mark, or, you know, too much clutter, question mark. Those are both slogans I've had on my business cards over the time. And we would use it strictly for when we are at our clients' houses. So if they own their home or they rent, whatever, and whether they have an HOA or not, we would say, hey, do you mind if we put a sign in your front yard for your neighbors to see? Feel free to, you know, get rid of it whenever you want. We can also come back if you don't want to deal with the hassle. If you're in an HOA, it should be okay for a little while. If they ever complain to you, just say, sorry, they must have put it out there. Like, you could throw it away for us, you know, blame it on us. And, you know, it would literally just be for like a left behind branded signature. So that's something that I would want to do going forward. And then because you have permission to put it on somebody's property, you never have to worry about the city getting upset. Because my prediction, with the increase in services over the last 2 years, especially like this year, I've seen a massive increase in services, as we all have. And I'm not just talking about junk removal either. I'm talking about every service. There is just so many yard signs at any given time for junk removal, for handyman, for the rolling tracks on sliding glass doors, roofing, pressure washing. They're everywhere. Everywhere. You got the guys putting them up on the poles 30 feet in the air with that little extension thing, which sounds like a really smart idea, but the only problem with that is if code enforcement can't reach it, the sheriff is the next person to call you, and you don't want that to happen. So it's just, I feel like eventually it's going to become an issue where, aside from the political area and properties that own their property and they're putting out their business signs on their property, my prediction is that, at least in my area, in the next year, they're going to just 100% prohibit yard signs, like with no excuse for it. That's my prediction. Which would obviously, and like, this is the thing, is I think this is why there's been such an increase in it, is because a lot of these services and businesses are starting up small and starting off as side hustles, and you don't have to have a business to have a yard sign, which is also why there's no name on it. It just says the service and a phone number. So, hey, my sign's still here. So, as we talk about it. So, it's a great, cheaper form of marketing to get your business out in front of the public eye when maybe you don't have a Google My Business or you're not running ads online. It's a great way to have hundreds of thousands of people see an advertisement from you for pretty much $2 to $3 per sign. That's a great deal if you think about it. And if you're consistent and you put them in the right areas, you can make money off of it. But if you took that away, now everybody has to go to more business marketing. Now you have to do in-person marketing, business-to-business marketing, referrals, repeat clients, which you have to get in the first place to get those. That's the only problem with repeats and referrals, is you have to get clients first, and then you have to do online ads. So, and like, it's not like yeah, yard sign companies are going to see a huge hit, but they're still going to get signs put out, especially with the political side of things. Like, look at how like bombarded they fill up an intersection when they put out their vote for me. It's crazy. So that's my prediction. I'm gonna keep an eye on it to see what ends up happening, because I believe all you really need is enough complaints from a general area to code enforcement about yard signs, and that kind of starts putting things in motion. Like, you need a collection of them. But that's just my 2 cents on the subject. That's what I'm kind of thinking. I am going to turn on a podcast that I've been waiting to watch, and I will see you guys at the scrapyard. We're here, got a little bit of a line. At first I didn't even see these other guys unless they were on the scale when I came, but there's like 5 pickup trucks over here all lined up perfectly. One guy's leaving right now, but then you got this like box truck, and then you have another truck right behind it, unless he's pulling a trailer. I can't really tell. And then you have a pickup truck in front of me, so it might be here for a few minutes before we start. I feel like I'm at the dump waiting to dump everything off. I've been here for about 20 minutes now. We're still waiting. So when that first set of trucks were there, when I was talking about that earlier, now I guess it's so backed up that they have 3 trucks lined up that the guy's scooping stuff into, and the bulldozer guy's pushing everything back so that way people can even park. That same box truck is still there. I've been here for like 20 minutes. And then it's a pickup truck in front of me, and then it's me. So at least that way we can all squeeze in, because I was a little concerned with the fact that there was like 4 to 5 pickup trucks and they're pretty close together when I drove by, which means it's kind of hard for me to fit a trailer in perfectly. And it's not so much the backing into that's the problem. It's once I'm there, people just chuck shit out of their truck. And I've had things like bounce off, and like, you know, like you throw a thing of metal, like it bounces around. So, hey, look, we're parking. And like, I've had things like smack the side of my like truck tire before, and like, I don't want that to smack the side of my trailer. I've had that happen, and it's like scraped the wrap a little bit. But you're here at your own risk. You can't really get mad at anybody. And, you know, it kind of sucks. So that's kind of the situation I tried to avoid. It's getting like too tight. But sometimes you can't help it, because I'm not going to sit here and just keep waiting. That guy had the box truck and the trailer. That's wild. I am curious as to how he's going to efficiently offload the box truck when the trailer is attached to it. And he has a lot of shit on both of those. He's going to be there for a while. Hopefully I can fit next to him, because there's trucks going around doing stuff. We'll see what happens. But I think we're about to pull up, so And everybody is out here right now. There's like 15 attendants like trying to like orchestrate all of this. So they definitely has some kind of like backup. So we finally made it out of there. We made $82. So I was hoping for like 85 to 100, but I guess I was being a little naive with the weight of those appliances. The stove was like almost twice the weight of the refrigerator. I'm not kidding. I think it was heavy as hell. All right, so the way I like to do the math on it is I'm being paid to take it. I calculate into the fact of how much it would cost to dispose of it at the landfill. And then I add in how much I made off of it from the scrapyard. So in Florida, at least in my area, it's $42 a ton for trash. It's $65 a ton for building debris. And I like to kind of put metal in the middle point, only because if you have appliances and patio furniture, that's one thing. But if I show up with a bunch of trash and I have like metal fencing, or I have like aluminum rafters from wall studs, or something like broken down, or like shed pieces or something, I'm gonna get charged for building debris no matter what, even if the majority of my trailer is trash and like that's on top and that's what they see. I'm gonna get charged. So I like to find the middle point, because it's not always the case, like I said, if I have appliances or patio furniture. So the middle point would be $54. So what I just got rid of was 1,180 pounds, so a little over a ton. So let's go ahead and assume that that probably would have cost me like $27 to dispose of. So if I take that 27 and add it on to my 82, it's 109. So in a way, I made / saved $109. So that's the way I kind of look at it in my head. Now, when you factor in the couple of trips I have to swing by my house to pick up larger metal pieces, go back and forth, the process of loading it, like I made that time-lapse video of me loading the trailer in the rain, that was all the metal I had on my side yard at the time. That was hoarded there for like 2 weeks. So think about all of that labor, plus the fact that once my trailer is occupied, if I need it, now this is a double-edged sword, because if I need it, then it becomes more of an issue, because then I have to offload it so I can use it for a job if this one is full and it's on the weekend, or if it's a bigger job. If I don't need it though, it's just sitting there not doing anything. So I can at least treat it as like storage for metal. And that's how I've been kind of perceiving it, because I don't rent it out or do anything like that. It's literally a backup for when this is full and I can't make it to the dump. Or if I have a big job and just better timing. So that's the kind of the reason for it. I'm just trying to figure out, like, is it going to be worth it in the long run to do it if my payout is around $80 for a full load, give or take. So that's kind of my my way of thinking, because I can still save the money by putting it on the side yard and letting my neighbor get it. My neighbor is retired, and he started off doing scrapping as a side hustle when he learned about it. And his goal was just to make a few hundred a month for spending money, so he didn't have to rely on his Social Security. And now he's like exceeding it, and sometimes doubling it depending on his month. So I kind of help him out a little bit with making income, and it saves me on the dump fees. So it's a win-win. The only difference is I'm not making that extra money. Now, he's actually breaking stuff down and really making it worthwhile. I'm just bringing stuff as is because, like I said, I'm very inexperienced with it. So it's kind of I'm probably not utilizing it the best I could, but that's just kind of where I'm at with things. So I don't know. I'm going to my brother's house to pick up some stuff, and then I might stop by Chipotle to get lunch because I'm kind of hungry. I didn't really eat breakfast. So we'll think about it. I'll come up with a decision. There's a good chance I'm just gonna stick to copper, brass, and wire. And if I have like a really big job and it makes sense to just leave it all in there and just go straight to the scrapyard the same day or the next day, then I'll do it. All right, so we're at Chipotle really quick to get lunch. I'm gonna pick up my brother or something because that's where we're heading to. And this plaza, I was like, there's a big open strip of parking spots, and I was like, cool. you can kind of see me from the street. And then of course, like with the plaza, it's good branding for the truck. That's a tip. Anywhere you are going, like if you're going to get lunch, I'm the type of person to try to park away from people so I don't get blocked in. But at the same time, it's really good for truck branding if you can be somewhere that everybody is gonna see you. So always try to do something like that. You can still be away from people, but park in a direction that as you're driving down the road, like they can see your truck and trailer or your truck from a while away. Unless you just have magnets on your truck. If you have like a big sign or something, they should be able to see it for a ways. So I'm out front of the Chipotle, but I'm down a little bit where you can still see me from the road, and you can see me where you're driving by. And there is a new development here. They're townhouses, which aren't my favorite, but they are newly built and they look nice. So I'm gonna park out here. There's also 2 people cleaning out their cars, coincidentally, and there's somebody walking their dog. So that's all truck branding. They may end up calling me and say, hey, I saw your truck park out in front of our building. And when I go down and look at it and I say, oh, that's over by Chipotle, then I'll know that it's from this little itty bitty task of going to get a meal. So we're gonna grab lunch really quick. Since I have last talked, which for you was like 30 seconds ago, but for me it was like 15 minutes, I have decided to stick to aluminum, brass, copper, wire, and I will pawn off all the metal to the scrapper in my neighborhood unless he's out of town, or if it's a big job, it's already on my trailer, I'll just run up to the scrapyard. It makes sense. So that's the game plan. So no more like just hoarding trash all day. But we're gonna run in, get some lunch, and then I'll see you guys at the next stop. All right, we are back home. That's gonna do it for today. We have to offload some of the stuff that we got from my brother's house to sell, and then we will go drop off the trailer later today. Tomorrow we have the marketing stuff with the groups, and then we have a job Wednesday morning for the bed, and then we'll be doing the other thing afterwards. So in the meantime, we're just trying to sell as much as we can because we have a wedding coming up on the 29th, and we have 3 different families staying at our house, which can realistically only fit 2, but I don't know what they're gonna do. And we're trying to clean up the storage of a back room by posting as much as possible on Facebook and Macari. So got a lot going on and trying to make use of the days and nights while still planning a wedding, which is stressful, especially for Tanya because she's doing the majority of it. And then trying to keep up a business, which coincidentally is actually kind of slow right now. So it's not like I'm going crazy personally. But yeah, that's kind of all that we really got going on right now. So I will see everybody next time. Thanks for hanging out with me. And yeah, it's getting hot here. I'm gonna go.